Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. And I had a code red alert this week. I tried to reactivate our fantasy football league, and it wouldn't let me do it. And I thought, are you kidding me? And so I started to do research because I thought there has to be some type of bug. I've been trying to do it for a while now, and I've been thinking, like, typically I thought I've activated it in the past in like July, because some people are crazy in the league and they're like, I got to see what the values are. And I'm like, you're not spending over a month putting values together. Are you insane? But maybe they do, right? Doesn't help. When I'm the top dog, I'm top gun, right? I don't do that. So kids at home, you don't have to do that to be a champ. Letting you know. But I'm like, I'll do it. I'll reactivate it because I was going away for a week. That's why we had to record super early last week. And I put it in and it wouldn't work. I tried the app, wouldn't work. I found some people talking about it. What would end up happening is I would click to reactivate the league like I normally do, because it will say, hey, you don't have a league. Do you want to reactivate it? And what it was doing is it was kicking me to their fantasy football gridiron gauntlet, which is something that I didn't know existed. And so what we were looking at this year, it looks like this started last year. And so I'm wondering if slowly over time, people are just going to stop playing regular fantasy football and they're going to be pushed into almost like these joint leagues, which will then be the gateway into daily fantasy. Because this is billed as ESPN's own way to crown the best fantasy football player. And I know that that's going to be some type of like BS, right? Because there got to be a catch. Because a lot of people have the same players. You see it every year. If it's like, hey, who won your league? Oh, the same guy that had like these three players. And you're like, oh, okay. Right. Everyone had, usually the teams, like a lot of people are going to have overlap, just because you can ask Matt Miller, there's like 100 leagues out there. Right. So you're going to have overlap of players. There's only so many good players. And so the thing that got me is every league that gets converted is a 10-team league, and we have more teams than that. So I didn't know what happens. Right. They got rid of the auction. So it's standard PPR. We run an auction league. This would go back to a snake league. And so they have, how many weeks are in the NFL? Is it 18 now? Because they have the playoffs weeks 15 through 17, which I think is when ours start, because I think the last bye week is week 14. But the twist is you play with your friends, right? Weeks 1 through 14. After that, it takes the top 4 teams from your league, puts them into a playoff spot for the last 3 weeks of the season, and you get to play against other people in other leagues. So I don't know how they tally it, because if you only have 4 teams making the playoffs and you have 3 weeks of playoffs, I don't know if it's your top 4. You just set your lineup and it's whoever gets the most points over those 3 leagues. It doesn't really tell me. It says there are no eliminations, so I'm assuming that's how it's going to be. So like the top 4 of every league. And again, the crazy thing with this is there's no limit, right? Me and you could sign up, divvy it up and say like, okay, you take 5 teams, I take 5 teams. We set up like a couple fake emails and I just join a ton of these leagues and we each just kind of snake and say like, all right, we're going to kind of stack 2 teams, right? With like the top most players. Cause like ESPN, they're not going to know, right? They're assuming that everyone's by the book, but fantasy football has so many like fights involved that I've known that like, you don't know if someone's rigging it.
I think that'd be hilarious. Just make a super team.
Should I do that?
Just create your own league, get into it, and just snake all of the best people.
And then at the end, it's like, man, this guy is killing it. He has every guy. And then I could like trade my own guys. Because it doesn't say that it has it. So signups go all the way to preseason to September 9th. Maybe I should do that and just see if I would win. Right? Because if you do that, you would anticipate, okay, this guy's winning. How did this guy get it? He was in a crap league, but now he's like the king of ESPN. When in reality, from their own investigations into the ESPN's own guys that they're not looking into this. Right? So if you sign up, Gridiron Gauntlet, you can join anyone's league or you can start your own. Top 4 teams, like I said, get into the gauntlet. So even if you you could very easily pick based on the number of players, because like you only have 3 top quarterbacks or whatever. You could very easily make 4 super teams in some fake league that you put together. And then the most points then gets an actual ESPN trophy. Right? I don't know what happens with this, but it says, I'm reading this off their website. It says, be forever immortalized with your name added to the trophy held at ESPN headquarters. And you get a replica trophy in your name. And then they send you a Super Bowl championship ring. And then a custom jersey to the top 10 teams. But see, that's what I don't understand. So now you can manage team the same as you do now. So if I make a fake name, I'd get a jersey with a fake guy's name on it. Because ESPN doesn't have your address, right? They wouldn't ask for that until you win. So they don't know how many teams you have. You know how many friends that I hear this all the time. It's like, hey, dude, your team's doing horrible in our league. I'm winning the 5 other leagues I'm in. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Right? You're winning all 5 of them. You're just randomly in 6 leagues and you're the champ in 5 leagues except for the one that I'm in with you. You're in last place. I know that's not true. So I wonder how many people in here are signed up and there's a top 100. You'll manage the league. So basically you're doing all the work trying to get people to sign up for this ESPN thing. And why? So there is a customer care team. We will monitor the top performing teams and review their past league transactions for suspicious activity. But what if you're the same dude, right? How's it suspicious if I just draft my team and they don't get injured? It's not going to be, I'm telling you, as long as you can get through the draft. Because they're not going to say, well, this guy drafted crappy, right? You could make it work with only 10 people. You could theoretically just pick okay, well, I'm taking my top. Remember how I always say, you can get the top 4 running backs or whatever. And as long as you hit them, you could be good. But again, this takes effort, right? Who's gonna fake run teams just to get a fake trophy at ESPN headquarters? I almost looked to see if I could find it, but I couldn't find anything on it because I
need to cheat enough that they don't suspect me.
Yeah, or what if you just win outright? Then what? Because I can join 3 leagues, dude. 3 in the Gridiron Gauntlet. So I would just need to have 10 accounts, and then I could join each 3, and I could run it the same way for all of these.
Well, look, I have the same quarterback in all of my leagues.
Well, see, that's what you don't want. You need to have a fake super team, but you need to have different dudes, and then just hope that your guys whip butt to get in. Because if you staked it and you're okay, I can randomly pick. Oh, I could just make it the other guy really likes the Broncos or something and only pick Broncos players, just like a real life league. Right? Oh, this fake email guy, he only does it. Now, ESPN might think it's suspicious if I create 9 ESPN accounts and then immediately draft the next day. Right? I have to space it out. How bored will I be one weekend? When's college football start? I guess we have regular games. What would I do with a a league championship jersey. Could you imagine just wearing it around with your rings? Like, I already have a handful of rings, dude. I could be like a real Tom Brady if I had a replica trophy I just carried around. And it's like, it's at ESPN headquarters. Not that anyone ever goes there or would see it. Like, right? Is it like the Hall of Fame where I could just drive in and get my picture with my own trophy? Because I'd assume guys in like the Hall of Fame for their sport, they get invited. Like everyone's like actually doing work and I'm just walking around dressed up like Macho Man. Bunch of like my jersey on, a bunch of like fringe stuff, like really. So it's really noticeable this guy's like a jerk. I'm taking pictures there. So I don't know. What do you think, dude? Would you want to convert the league? Because if you're in a championship league like this, you wouldn't really have a champ anymore. There would be no... Unless the league decided that whoever was the regular season champ is the champ.
No, I like our league the way it is. I'd rather just keep it the way it is, and unless we absolutely like had no other alternative.
Boy, if they killed the auction and just said like, hey, you have to change or like switch to a different platform, I'd pretty much just give up. I'd be like, anyone wants to take over at this point, I really don't care. Right? If they want to do it and I can easily just update it, I have a spreadsheet that has all our stats. Very easy. Someone put together a script that pulls down the stats I need years ago. So it's very easy for me just to pull the data I need and update like our stats so we could see what the win percentages of everybody and whatever at the end from like our career. So if they changed it where it was like so dramatic, where it would mess that up, and you were like, well, we're doing a snake now. Because the thing with the auction, I've always argued, is you're more like an actual GM in free agency every year. We do it where you can have one keeper. The keeper aspect kind of rewards people that are smart enough or like to keep up and kind of know the rookies coming in. Because sometimes you can get a rookie for like cheap, like Patrick Mahomes, someone had for like really cheap, I think. And then if you hit on him, then you can use your keeper on him and theoretically build around him. But the person that had Patrick Mahomes, I don't think to this point has ever won the championship. So it's not like you can cheese into it because there's always going to be some other way. Now, if we did like 3 keepers or something, then yeah, you could have like a pure dynasty just based on the strength of that. But the auction, I think, has around it where you see people bid up like some guy, like Christian McCaffrey, I'll use an example. Then he gets hurt, and then you watch your season go down the drain, and it's like, all right, I can't draft him anymore. I don't care how much you overhype him. He hurt me. He hurt me in the past. So you kind of have to know what you're doing. And the other thing that I've always advocated for, not so much trades, because like trades don't really work. We've only had a handful of them. I traded once for like a Tom Brady just to get him, and then magically took a crappy team to the championship because Tom got hot. That was like the luckiest I've ever had. And then after that, I think everyone was spooked where they were like, I don't want to get had by a trade like that. And it was like a perfect trade. I needed a QB because my quarterback got hurt. And I forget what the other position was, but the other guy he couldn't even field a team. And he was on the border for playoffs. So I flipped him to give him like a tight end and a wide receiver or something. I can't remember what it was. Could have been a running back, but he needed 2 positions for 1. It was a 2-for-1. And I took a gamble because I thought, man, without a QB, I can't win. I'm not going to make the playoffs. But I had enough depth from free agency pickups that it worked out. It should have worked out for both of us. I don't remember if he ended up making the playoffs or what. But then it spooked everybody where they were like, well, now I can't trade because what if the guy I get rid of gets hot? And then I look like a big jerk. So now no one trades. All the trades that are sent are like one-sided. And I think we had one where people flipped defenses and then everyone complained. And I'm like, I don't care about that. As a commissioner, I was like, I don't care. Right? 2 defenses, how do you know? Right? You don't know. That's like such a hard thing to do. just pick a defense and say, like, this defense is going to be good. I think it was like the Browns and the Raiders, something like two horrible teams historically. That they're like, oh, yeah, you can't trade defenses like that. Collusion. I'm like, they didn't trade the Ravens defense for the Browns or something, bro. Like, calm down. The Raiders, I saw your Raiders, dude, haven't made the playoffs since Rich Gannon or something like that. Can you believe it?
I can.
Or maybe maybe they haven't won a playoff game. It was one of the two. I should have took a screenshot for you.
Well, it's both. I'm pretty sure it's both.
And because it's like 20 years now, which is hard to believe that Rich Gannon and, well, Jerry Rice was like him and Tim Brown on that team, wasn't it? It was like the old guys unite, and they're like, we're going to make a run.
I think they probably would have won, but Tampa traded for Gruden.
Don't start more groomers, bro. I've already been hurt enough.
They would have won 2 Super Bowls had it not been for the tuck rule.
Well, Tom Brady, he's just great. I saw him. He was riding a boat. It looked like he had a Michigan hat on. And I thought, respect. Then people were trying to say that he looked sad because he was on a boat by himself. I said, no one that has a private boat is sad. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't care who you are. Like, oh, man, I'm sad. What am I going to do today? Let me go out on my boat by myself in peace and quiet. Like, that doesn't sound relaxing at all. Now, if it was like Tom Brady's been in his apartment with his shades drawn and it's real dark and you can see like hazy smoke in there, I'm like, yeah, okay, something's going on. Or is he doing candles? What's he doing in there? Not like on a boat flexing, bro. Nah. Especially with the championship hat on like that. You gotta be pumped up. Which I gotta say, Michigan sent me some stickers in the mail, bro. Classic laptop stickers. I thought, man, what a nice gesture. Don't know why. Randomly, they were like, you want these? You want the swag? I thought, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So shout out to them hooking me up. Let's see. Other NFL stuff. Training camp is going on. I don't want to talk about politics again, or we usually try to avoid it. But Aaron Rodgers went off on a heater, which I thought was AI. But no one was talking about it today. So I really don't know what to think. Like, is he fired up and is actually going to try this year? He's making amends, which we joked about. Now he's calling out people in the media for doubting him. This could be his redemption story, but there's no way if it really happened and they were like not letting him trend because of the topics of what he was calling out, they're not going to let him win the championship, Matt. Right? There's still a set of people think the NFL is rigged, right?
There are.
I mean, they can't let the villain win.
Care. He's like, I got my coach back. I won a Super Bowl with him. He's let me do what I want.
I don't know, though.
I think some of the comments were interesting, like from DK Metcalf. Did you see what he said?
No, I didn't see any follow up. It's showing up in some of the AI searches and stuff that I've found. Like, you know how you search now on the internet and then it brings up like an AI recap?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, hey, I need a bike that can like compete in a triathlon. And it's like, hey, you can get an electric bike. I said, bro, there's no way that's even legal. Like, could you imagine like, yeah, Matt, coming on the show, I just did an Ironman, bro. And you're like, oh, really? I said, yeah, got a sweet e-bike, just cruised along. then I walked the rest of it, right? Because I finished so fast. Like, oh, is that frowned upon? I didn't know the rules of no e-bikes. When I searched online, it said, buy this e-bike, goes 40 miles an hour. I'm like, all right. Toast everyone else that's going 20. I'd do double the time. So don't trust everything you read. So I don't know what's true or not.
I saw that with DK Metcalf, one of the things that he brought up was just how different like the practice planning in the organization was. And I think that's one of those drastic differences of having a coach that's more offensive minded, that knows what he wants to run and has it installed, and like there's a flow to why he's doing what he's doing. That he's like, there were games where early on we're going through like routes of things I like, things I don't, and it's like we're in the game and they're calling stuff that earlier in the week I said I didn't like, and they're trying to like make it work. It's like if your team isn't on the same page, like now that makes sense as to why we're watching games thinking this just looks like such a disorganized cluster. Why can't you just get a first down?
Yeah, some of that stuff I don't believe. I feel like it's preseason hype, which is why my example that I had written down for the week is another Michigan thing, unfortunately, where they were doing a little PR press where they talked about how the strength program this year with Witt is better. And they were like saying that Sharon Moore didn't have the players bench pressing last year as part of the training. And I thought, well, that could just be a spin, right? Like, you don't know what they were doing. If maybe they weren't doing heavy bench pressing.
He didn't know either.
Well, he knew exactly what he was doing, bro. Like on Sandlot when he tries to kiss that lifeguard and they're like, you knew exactly what you were doing. He's like messaging ladies online. He's like, I know what I'm doing. Keep winning. I still don't know how he won 9 games. That's why I see everyone saying like Michigan, they're going to be horrible this year. New coaching change. I thought, dude, our coach was texting confirmed from the investigation in halftime of the game. Like everyone's like, coach, what do we need to do to get back and win this game? He's like, hold on, fellas. I'm busy. Right? And then he was still winning. Like he only lost, was it 3 games last year or something? 4 games? Well, I don't even know what the final, well, I guess maybe they lost 3 until he was canned. And I think they lost to Texas, but that was after he was fired. That was Biff's game, which Big Ten Network hired Biff. Did you see that?
No, I do not follow Michigan because...
Well, you don't follow the Big Ten, bro?
Because I get an obnoxious amount of it from you.
There's a lot of Big Ten power out there right now. Did you see what Signetti said about the Midwest?
There's a lot of corn.
He said that the players work hard. They don't care about hyping their teams up like the SEC. They don't need to talk about schedules. He's focused on winning, bro. The Midwest and the Big Ten are focused on winning the actual games, not hyping up preseason rankings. Which I see a guy that's trying to get his, I don't know if he has like a business or something he started, but he's trying to get his proposal of only 4 main conferences expanded and break away. Probably because he's a fan of like, who knows, like UNC or something. It's like not in one of the major Big Ten or the SEC right now. And so they're like, we got to put together this proposal where we're going to break away from some of the smaller schools and just have a playoff where you take the top 2 teams from each conference and then that's the playoff with some extra at large for Notre Dame. And I'm like, this sounds horrible, right? I don't want all the conference championship losers to automatically get in. At that point, just don't have the championship game. Because like Duke won, right? Who'd they beat? I can't remember. Was it SMU? So like, let's say if we flip it last year and Duke loses, they're like what? 8-5? I don't know. What were they? 9-4 or something like that? So I'm guessing that adds in their other record. I don't know if that was a bowl game or what. But like, do you really want a loser ACC champ game, 8-5 team getting in as an auto bid? No, it sounds horrible. Right? And then they lost to Tulane already. I think in the regular season from what I remember. I mean, I watch a lot of weird games. Let me double check as I'm talking. Because Duke's down here, right? So I always like, I'll keep an eye on like their football. And so, yeah, that's this year. They're throwing me a curveball. What was their 2025? Because they played Tulane this year. I'm guessing they lost to them last year, and I'm not making that up. Now, they lost to Tulane last year. They got smoked by Illinois, 45-19, by the way. So as you're comparing it, and you in this hypothetical 2014 playoff, you're going to say, oh, Illinois, they're pretty good. They're close. Like right now. Oh, wait, sorry, we can't take them. We got to take Duke because they were in the ACC championship game, even though they lost. Right now, I know they won it in real life, but what are you doing? Right? That you have a team that got smoked by Illinois at home, and then they lose to Tulane, and the ACC is still arguing that Tulane shouldn't have made the playoffs last year. Right? Weren't they one of the teams in?
Yeah.
So that was one of the points of putting them in. So everyone that's talking about schedules, and saying, well, they're making them easy and whatever they're doing, because
but some of that stuff is nonsense anyhow, because every team to a certain extent was scheduling those fluff FCS games.
Well,
so,
that's the thing.
Every team at some point was doing it anyhow. So let's not act like everyone was constantly trying to fill out the hardest Power 5 schedule.
Well, that's the thing here. Tulane last year played Duke, Northwestern, and Ole Miss. They played one other warm-up against South Alabama, which, if you could even call it a warm-up. That's the only non-power program that they played. They can't control their conference, right? It's not like they can call up the ACC and say, hey, can we come in? They're going to laugh at them and tell them, no, dog, you're not coming in. So the fact that they had already played Ole Miss and they had to replay them and they got lost big both times, sometimes I feel like that's the playoff committee proving a point, right? Oh, if you beat a team by like 4 touchdowns and you play them again, you're probably not going to win because matchups and stuff, that still matters. Kind of like college basketball, right? So, okay, some matchups are just better, some are worse. And what do you expect Tulane to do? I don't think Tulane should have been left out because they're in a smaller conference and then put Duke in, a team that they beat, just because their schedule was weaker. And honestly, I've said it countless times, and I feel like I'm on a broken record every week, but you have millions of college football fans that didn't go to the big schools. So, okay, you didn't go to Tulane. What are you supposed to do? Root for the next closest school, which would be like what, LSU would be the big school in Louisiana? That'd probably be the only one. Because Tulane used to be in the SEC, right? I'm going to look that up real quick to make sure. Yeah, they were one of the members for 3 decades back until 1965. Now, I doubt if they called the SEC right now and said, hey, can we come in? They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, sure, dude. Although they might, because the main thing right now the SEC is complaining about is their schedule's too tough. And that it's more fake headlines from ESPN, which is why every time someone sends me stuff, and I appreciate people sending me things for the show to talk about, but when you're sending me stuff about the SEC from ESPN, you have to realize they own the SEC. Right? It's like taking advice on from regular, I don't want to say, I'll get in trouble. Well, we'll say like you're taking advice from someone that shouldn't be giving advice, right? That's kind of like what the ESPN and the SEC is. And it's like, all right, well, I guess I got to believe it. I guess you guys are the best. Because the lie that they've been pushing on their shows, and I saw it, a couple people screen capped it to me, is they're saying that the SEC has this 9-game conference schedule. They haven't played that 9-game conference schedule ever. This is the first year. I'm pretty sure this is the first year. So the fact that they're using it already in their marketing and that Signetti can call them out, because last year they weren't tired from a 9-game schedule when Indiana whooped up on Alabama. Yeah, sure, Alabama played Florida State. Didn't Florida State beat them last year?
Yep.
Florida State was horrible last year. No offense. I think I saw it was like 2 wins or something in the ACC or something like that. Okay, maybe Alabama's not good. The SEC schedule, just because they tore through that, we don't know if the SEC is any good anyway. Georgia got taken down again, and everyone always makes excuses for them. And it's like, all right.
I'll say this too. Like, with the way that it's set up right now, with some of these SEC schools, if they get 2 losses, if you're mathematically eliminated from your SEC championship game, where's the incentive to continue playing? Because by all measures, you're not going to qualify for the playoff. So do you just tank the rest of the season? Like I'm not making excuses for Florida State last year, but I do think that was part of it, where they lost those trap games after Alabama, and at that point, like, you lose, they're already looking for a reason to keep you out. Like, there goes the tanking.
And that's why I think no matter what, the number one quickest fix to any of that is automatic. Every conference has to have an automatic bid. And I'm so shocked still to this day that the other group of 5 or whatever they call them, there might be 6 conferences now, they don't band together and say, hey, we want automatic qualifiers for the playoffs. They're so afraid of losing the television thing. And I've even proposed, you're going to a 2014 playoff, just go to like a 28 or something and have the other conferences play an early round, because they're going to get the money back. The Big Ten's already talking about getting rid of the conference championship game. I don't know if you've seen that, but part of their latest proposal is they're going to go back. I don't know if they're going to go to the flex last week schedule, which I really liked, the COVID proposal, where, and I don't know how this would work, because in getting rid of the Big Ten championship game, I don't know if their proposal is to start the playoffs that week due to the calendar with the expanded, because like that's the most logical one. And they really don't want the Ohio State-Michigan game to leave Thanksgiving weekend. I think historically that game used to be played the week before, though, Thanksgiving, which would be better because the students want to be on Thanksgiving break. And I don't know. I'd have to look up my history to see if I'm right or not on that. But you'd have to push that game back a week and then have the flex week on Thanksgiving. And I don't know. Or they could try to do the flex week the week before, but you really don't want to flex in hard games before your rivalry week, where it's like, oh, you're going to play the highest. You're 9-2 Michigan. You're going to play, or 9-1. I forget what they would have been last year before. I guess they would have been before the Ohio State game. Michigan would have been 9-2. And so they were 1 win away from probably making the playoffs at 10-2, right? Realistically. And so if, let's say the week before, Michigan was like, I forget what Michigan other loss they had, but if Michigan was like either 8-1 or 8-2 or something like that, you're going to flex in a team that's comparative to try to bolster your schedule that you didn't play previously. That's the flex week from COVID, because the conference is so big. You would have a flex week, and I don't know how the East and West travel would work, right? When you only get a 1 week heads up, they might be able to schedule it like a little bit ahead, where they kind of set it ahead based on like November, whatever. It's the first week of November, they look at the records, and if a team craps the bed and starts losing, then whatever. Like they can't control everything. But I really like that proposal where it's like, okay, you have a team like in the SEC where A&M and who was it, LSU, they haven't played. Or maybe it was Georgia. Did you know that? A&M hasn't played like a couple of the SEC schools, because when they came in, they did that weird like crossover with Mizzou, remember? And then they did like the other expansion. So like they haven't played the other schools, and realistically, that's insane. So they could very easily have a crossover week where they look at it and say, all right, who haven't you played? Who's been kind of good recently that might bolster it? And then it gives them both a chance to play into the playoffs. One more quality win, as we would say. And I would be all for that, because everyone's saying, well, the regular season is not going to matter anymore. I think it will. If you get rid of the conference championship games that are just adding one more loss and potentially, I mean, we've seen it with the Big Ten, like Northwestern's in there, no offense to them. I would love to see them have a way to play their way in. Because how many times, if you're not doing it, remember the year Penn State won the Big Ten and they still picked Ohio State in? And everyone in the Big Ten was like, oh, that's okay. Ohio State's probably our best chance to win. And SEC, or not even SEC, Penn State fans were buying it. They were telling me that. Oh, we probably wouldn't win anyway. I'm like, yeah, but you had the chance. Wouldn't you rather take it? Like Michigan State got in and they got stomped by Bama. They didn't even score. You think they would give that up? Like, what if they had said, you know what? We beat Ohio State. We're going to lose to Alabama. Just let Ohio State play for us. We're afraid. Could you imagine? Because now when they're recruiting, they could say, hey, we're only one of like 10 teams to make the playoffs. Without the expanded playoff, Penn State couldn't say that. And they gave their only chance up because they didn't fight hard enough for it. They let the committee make up whatever excuses, kind of like they did with Florida State that one year, where they were like, undefeated? Is it really undefeated, though? Not on our watch, right? They're adding L's during the meeting. Like, okay, got to give them a loss somewhere, right? So we can get Texas and Alabama in, our new two buddies in the SEC. And that's where I'm like, all right, Texas hype is driving me nuts. I'm seeing it everywhere. I get it. They went out and bought a lot of people. A&M's been buying a lot of people. Has it worked? I don't know. Right? Your quarterback is Arch Manning. When is he taking that step? You can't put all your hype in one basket if the quarterback doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm buying him. I was the guy on this show talking about how I hope the Steelers draft him number 1 when the Steelers tank. And instead, we have Aaron Rodgers' redemption tour and Arch Manning trying to work his way up the draft board still. How wrong was that prediction? Really wrong, dude. Although I'm still buying Steelers won't get a playoff win. I don't know when the last one was, but I would be shocked if Aaron Rodgers got it done this year. No offense. It's hard as an old quarterback. Making the playoffs, I could see that happening. Winning, I'm not buying it. Are you?
I might. Just because it reminds me in some ways of that Tampa team with Group where Dungy had trouble getting it done. They brought in an offensive-minded coach and they had the pieces already there. Like you look, the defense has never been an issue. The offense has been god-awful for so long that having an offensive-minded coach and having some level of consistent offensive play, and I think they are a threat. Plus, when you factor in that there's so many of the other teams in the AFC that are in a messy situation, I think it's a recipe for success. Well, or at least opportunity.
You got to remember, though, they're bringing in, the Ravens brought in Minter, defensive-minded, right, getting in. And so you're going to have some of that changeover. Plus, how innovative is a coach that's super old and couldn't win with the Cowboys? I guess he's not super old. I don't know how old people are.
But they were better. Like, he made them better from where they were.
And they're still in the weird mix. Which, a couple other NFL things, I know I cut into the college stuff early, that I saw they were trying to push out there. And I don't know if everyone saw this or got these articles, because like, as a Packers owner, I saw that they were putting out feelers, Matt, where they're saying that the Packers might not be able to be competitive in this new era of football, where I'm like thinking super competitive. Like, you're not talking college football here where you have unlimited NIL right now, right? What are you talking about in terms of budget? They have a salary cap in place. If the stadium's selling out and they're getting TV money in the billions or whatever they're getting, where's the money going? Right? Where they can't compete?
Parking.
Well, they definitely would make you pay for parking there, right? Am I right? Beers, $20 beers. Where was I when I sold $20 beers? And I thought at that point, I wouldn't even buy one. Right? I would go to the event so hammered, like from the parking lot, that you wouldn't even want to drink another beer. right? And you probably not remember the event at all. Sticking it to the man. But so what they were saying is they're reading through the Packers bylaws or whatever. And so they think that there's a loophole way where they can go ahead and buy out all the stocks that are out there so that an owner can swoop in and take over. And I thought, maybe this will work or whatever. But since the NFL is like in control, they're saying instead of paying out like the shareholders or whatever based on like the agreement, it would go to like the Green Bay Community Fund. And then what? You move the team out of Green Bay? Like, I think at some point, if the NFL explores that, they're going to have to get hit with the lawsuit. Because the way the shares were set up is that, first off, I don't think they could sell it. And I guess they could force their own way, right? The owners usually have so much money and sway in the government that they're able to get taxes to pay for their own stadiums. Am I right? So it's going to be hard for like a people's rising up. Your only hope is that the Packers have owners all over the United States that kind of make a stink about it and say like, look, don't sell the team. What are you doing? You're going to dump billions of dollars into the Green Bay Library or whatever it is. I can't remember what it is. I did read it, whatever I got my stock. And then they could still potentially leave the city. Like, there's no way they're not going to get rid of all the shares and then the NFL's going to make them stay there, right? No owner in their right mind is going to pay for that and then keep them in Wisconsin forever. Like, let's just be realistic. Their next time there'd be another loophole where they're like, oh, sorry guys, we donated billions of dollars to the Green Bay area. What'd you guys do with it? Right? Oh, you blew it. Residents got like meta glasses or something weird where they're like, hey, we'll get some kickbacks to the area. And I've been wanting more publicly owned teams, right? Look at baseball right now. And the reason I brought this up, Dodgers get Scooble, right, from the Tigers. And the Dodgers are looking absolutely stacked. And I saw all the MLB defenders out there saying any team could have afforded him, blah, blah, blah. But guess what, buddies? They don't. And I don't even care. I don't even really want a salary cap because I don't care. I just don't want the owners. Right?
Well, I think if you're going to go with a cap, then there has to be a minimum ceiling and a minimum floor. That way you avoid this issue where, oh, well, we're under the cap. We're only spending X amount of money and just pocketing the rest of the revenue.
Well, that's why I'm looking at it, and I don't care either way, right? It's not affecting my life. I see people like complaining so hard from like Detroit. I've seen both sides of it, just following a bunch of Michigan fans, where they're like really diehard Tigers fans. And some were like, hey, it's a great deal. We knew we were losing them anyway. At least we got some good players in return. And then others were like, this is horrible, right? Every time we get a good guy, they have to get rid of him, Verlander, whatever. And it's like, okay, have the team do like a mix Green Bay Packers where it's a public team. You're going to have some type of like billionaires or whatever involved anyway. They're going to buy up all the shares, right? Just change it in the bylaws where it can't be whatever owned. I mean, I guess there's no rule once it's like on the market or whatever. But like for the Braves thing, like anyone could buy in. You keep pumping in money and the stock's going up. The team's doing well. They're trying to make moves. I mean, they have to follow the MLB rules or whatever, but that team, the Braves, are still competitive. Where you have a team like the Pirates where it's like one guy in charge. He makes the call not to be competitive. And guess what? You're not going to be competitive. So putting the minimum or whatever, you're going to have one guy with the minimum. And he hasn't been doing good in the farm system either, realistically, to have enough players that are like contributing like they used to in like the 90s, where it seemed like every time the Pirates got a guy up, he's like either going to the Braves or the Yankees. Remember that era? It was like, oh, I'm seeing which future Braves are on the team right now. And now it's like, okay, they get like a couple guys. They're like the Tigers, where it's like you get one guy that's great and then he'll be going. And other than that, because remember when they invested in all those like international pitchers that were supposed to be awesome and then nothing ever happened with them? And they're like, sorry guys, we really messed up there. Like, okay. It's Pirates baseball. But I don't want the NFL following the same thing. Honestly, my long-term prediction, as I was writing down some notes for the show this week, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL can get away from the Green Bay in the Packers. I almost wonder if this is kind of them testing the waters. I wonder if they're going to get rid of the city affiliations altogether. Right? The Raiders have moved around so many times. Just think how much easier it would be, especially with like AI and stuff now, for them to just update the database and say like, well, this is the Raiders' new stadium, like Google Maps, they updated it. Businesses move all the time, where they're just known as the Raiders. And then the NFL can put them anywhere, right? Like, oh, getting whatever, they're not affiliated with the team. But Green Bay, because of the bylaws, they're tied to the Green Bay area, which most people probably have no idea where that even is. And so I think they would be the hardest to cut. I don't know if the other do states put in there, because like I look at the Panthers right now at Carolina. They're called the Carolina Panthers because they want to get in with the Carolina region. They have the same colors as like UNC. And then that's the Hornets have their own colors. But then you have the Hurricanes, also called Carolina. They're here in Raleigh. And because they're in Raleigh and they share with NC State, they have the same color scheme as NC State, like black and red and white. And so you have two different things here. What if they decided like, you know what? We're just going to become the Carolina Panthers or whatever, and we're going to flip back and forth, like, because they could really easily play. I think they've played games in Clemson Stadium before. And they could just have a floating stadium. And you could do that for the NFL for a couple of teams where you get areas, because like look at what the UFL was doing or whatever, where like some teams moved around and they, for that league, they really need to put what state or what city they're in because people wouldn't know. But for the NFL, if you just say like what NFL team, people are going to say like the Giants. Do they really say like, oh, I'm a Steelers fan? Do they really say the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like down here, no one says Pittsburgh. It's always like, no, I'm just a Steelers fan or I'm a Ravens fan. No one says the area name. And I want to say, if I'm predicting something, that's what I think would go. And if they really want to expand the reach, that's the easiest thing. Because it's not like baseball where you have to fill 162 games and 82 of them or whatever is at home, 80, whatever it is, 81. And so then they have to go ahead and have staff workers that are there for football, bro. They have part-time workers at that stadium. They're only filling 9 games a year? Is it really that hard of a difference to just pick a different city and hire temporary workers for one weekend? Like, oh yeah, here, we're going to play one of the games at because like, look, a lot of major stadiums like Michigan's Big House, dude, is now open for concerts and stuff. What if the Lions randomly just played one game there a year? And you're able to sell more tickets because it's bigger. And you can expand your reach a little bit. That's kind of close, though. They're only like an hour away or something. It's not that far of a drive for people that have done it. So you'd have to kind of think outside the box. But I look at like the Bears right now. Moving to Indiana. Right? Even though they're kind of in the Chicago suburb. What if they were just called the Bears? And it really didn't matter. I don't think they would downsize and like go into Northwestern's high-tech stadium. I don't know if you saw the new updates from that. I think they said they got rid of all seats in the student section. Like, you know how some teams back in the day had like a grass section where people would stand and that was like the student section? They just have a student section where everyone just stands. And I'm like, is that going to help? I mean, I don't like sitting. And if I was in the student section, I would want to stand. I mean, I've been yelled at games for standing. because everyone's like, I don't want you standing in front of me. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I see both sides of it now, because sometimes you're like, I'm just here to enjoy myself in these luxury seats. And so I would really appreciate if
they had too many parking lot fielders.
Yeah, you might need to sit down. That's why I wish they would just designate, because I try to do that for the World Cup, where it's like, okay, I'm looking at tickets. Tell me what section is what, right? I looked on so many sites to try to figure out what team was sitting where and who was attacking what goal. And in hockey, it tells you, at least for the Hurricanes, like it would tell me, okay, this is our goal. So whenever I forget and I go to buy tickets or whatever, I typically always end up in the same exact seats, because I'm like, oh, this is where I want to see them shoot at, right? And then I pick, and then I end up like right in my side. So then it's kind of like a habit where I don't have to remember what section I'm in. I just know based on where they're shooting where I'm going to end up, like when I buy the tickets. Just a habit, right? So like if I'm going to another game, it's nice to know that ahead of time, especially for like a bowl game or whatever. You're trying to look for, and then every time, never fails, you have to go on social media and ask, hey, what sections are they? Oh, they just sent out the email. We're in sections blah, 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 blah. Then I have to go back and look and see like, all right, where are we sitting? And try to do it that way. And Ticketmaster charges how much a fee? They can't put it on there? Like as a little note, like, yo, this is Steelers side, right? Or whatever. This is going to be where they are. So then because football is very easy. What do you know? Benches on one side of the field, the other team's benches on the other side of the field. They should at least tell you that. It's not like hockey or something where it doesn't really matter where the benches are, right? You just need to be able to see where they're shooting. Football doesn't matter. If you like the end zone, you can kind of pick and choose. But you probably want to be on your side in the corner. Players will come run up to you, right? High five them, push them back on the field if they drop the pass earlier in the game. You're like, bro, what are you doing? Not earning that NIL for me. But I think those are my main updates for the week. Very disappointed that I want to say if the NFL is leaking it out, that they're looking to do something with Packers ownership. And I have a bad feeling, like I said, we talked about expansion like 2 weeks ago or whenever that show was, where they're hinting that they already have a balanced schedule. I don't even know if they need to expand. Imagine if they just had the Jaguars and they floated around. They already kind of float around. They're playing in London like every year. All they have to do is axe the Jacksonville. But it's kind of weird if they can't really phase out one team city and then have it. Because like they want to put the Niners in Mexico City and by those like super powered, what were they? Generators or reactors or whatever that were getting the players injured. Like they can only have that Hulk radiation so many times throughout the season. So they need a second home so their players don't get too injured from that. Right? That's what Kyle Shanahan, he wrecked his car and then he said that the car blamed the other guy. But it was him. He came back. And then you have other players doing stupid stuff. Like, do you see, what was it, Scatabo? Trying to do like a backflip. He couldn't even land it.
Almost broke his neck.
Yeah, he looked like Tony Romo stretching before a DUI check. Like, I better get stretched out here. I can't walk in a straight line. Are you kidding me without stretching my hammies? I got to get down here. I thought that was a joke. And that's why I'm glad Aaron Rodgers is calling out some of the media coverage too, especially about the Vrabel thing, because he's right. That's a voter for MVP. How do you know? I mean, she talks to her colleagues, right? We see it all the time. There's always, look at the AP voting poll or even the coaches poll for football. And you can see where coaches, they're not watching the games or they're voting like, well, I need to make my team look better. And so then they stopped publishing the coaches' picks, right? Because it was like the Michigan year, 97, where a couple people put Michigan real low, which is odd because Michigan was the only other undefeated team. So they swayed the vote, realistically. I think was Paterno one of them? Now I don't think they let you know all the time where the coaches are voting. The AP one does let you vote or let you see it. And so there you can kind of see, okay, this guy has a vendetta against X school or X conference. And it's kind of annoying, like I said. Then just let everyone do it. Like, I really don't know what the correct way is, or just go back to the computers at this point. Everyone's on AI. Let them pick. You got to get the biases out where you can just automatically give them a database dump, strip all teams' names out of it and every conference name, have them look at the margins of victory, yards, points scored, whatever they need to do. Because it's very easy to see, like, oh, every time a major conference plays like a team from the American, they're crushing them by like 40 points in most cases, unless they're playing Notre Dame, then they're like winning. And it's like, oh, well, how's that happening? So then you're like looking through, and I wonder in reality, if you take that out and you look at the schedule and you do a pure computer ranking without teams, heck, maybe we should just do this with AI ourselves this year. Right? Each week, I just plug in a database, get rid of all the names, and ask AI to rank the teams based on like conference performance or whatever. And then we just post it. Write that down. Remind me to do that. Because I think teams have been doing that in the past, right? Everyone has their own model. But they're always looking at like, well, I gotta go ahead. And the one thing that they always do is they put in some type of like recruiting or blue chip ratio bias, where it's like, well, historically, the team's going to do that. But with the transfer portal, I'm arguing that I don't think it matters. I mean, if your team is crushing everybody, and at a certain point, I mean, the AI model can come up with its own thing, because basketball, isn't it like after 20 points or whatever, that's it? They call it. Like, they don't take it into effect anymore. Because like Michigan was really crushing those teams at the beginning of the year. Remember, they like beat Gonzaga by like 40. But I want to say that whatever they did for their net rankings or something, once you beat a team by 20, any higher than that, it doesn't affect the rankings. Like Michigan could win by 80 and it wouldn't matter. It's the same as a 20-point win, which makes sense because like at some point you could be a really bad day. A team could be like fumbling or like missing punts or something like a bunch of times, and then the game gets out of hand. And then what? Does it really matter? Like, think of that TCU Georgia game. Most times they play, Georgia's not killing them like that. Like, let's be real. Or like the Florida State Georgia. Like, most times that's not happening. So I think there'd be, if you had that game played 10 times, Florida State probably beats them a couple times, especially if they had their quarterback, right?
Yeah.
TCU probably beats Georgia a few times. Like Georgia plays a lot of other teams tough. Like, it's just different. Like, sometimes you're on a heater and you're not going to be stopped. So I think we should look into that and then see, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the power from the conferences will shine through and it will have like the SEC ahead based on like the non-conference equivalent wins. But that's the only non-biased way to look at it. Just depends on how much info you give it. Yards, passing percentages. Because some offenses are going to be different. Like, do you just only get score, offensive yards, or like offensive whatever, and then some defensive team stuff, and not really break it down by passing or rushing defenses? Because, like, I mean, they could find patterns there, but I don't know. If I have some time and I'm not bored, well, normally during the game, depends on how good Michigan's doing. If we're losing, then I'm like, I got to do something else. I know, I'll rank the teams. I'll rank the teams instead of watching this game. But if we're good, then it might motivate me more because I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to prove we're good. Right? So, is there anything else you want to talk about this week?
No, that's it.
My number one thing is, I think some of the WNBA stuff, just to throw this in there, because we've been talking about it a lot, because I think they're really promoting it as a controversy to get more people to talk about it. And so I'm done. We're fully into football. That's my final bell thing. I don't care about the controversies there. I think they're doing it possibly for publicity at this point, because it can't be going on for this long. The Caitlin Clark stuff. And it's not going to change unless, like I said, she leaves the league. So we're full football from now on, for at least because we're in the season. Off season is officially over this week. Let me know if you had trouble with your fantasy football leagues, logging them in, because I'm curious to see if they're just trying to push people to some new model where they can get people to buy in for their daily fantasy, right? Because all it takes is one time, Matt, where they're like, player got injured. Why don't you pay $5 for a boost? And then you can bring in a player from a losing team, right? That's the next step, I think. Because there will be teams in each league where they're going to be like, oh, you need to boost your team a little bit to compete in the gridiron, whatever that was. Gridiron something. So let me know if you're seeing that. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.